Hi, my name is Nicole. I'm a graduate student with the MRL at UCSB, and today I'll be helping you build your very own solar car. First, we'll go through a few slides to discuss solar energy before building our own car. So this is our virtual solar car workshop where we'll learn a little bit about solar energy by building and racing our very own solar cars. First, a little bit about us. We're the Materials Research Lab at UCSB, which is one of the top 5 materials research facilities in the world. In addition to research and innovation leading to companies, we also focus pretty heavily on outreach. Also, a little bit about me. I'm a graduate student at the MRL, and graduate students at the MRL typically study fields such as materials, chemistry, physics, biology, engineering, or other types of science. So how did we get here? Well, after high school, you can typically follow one of 2 routes. The first is to attend a trade school to learn a specific craft, and the second is to go to an undergraduate college or institution. After you graduate from that college, you might want to go further on to graduate school, where you can get your master's degree or your doctorate or PhD. This allows you to stay in academia to become a professor and continue to do research, or do research as an industry scientist or entrepreneur. But now let's move on a little bit to energy and solar power. So the world's current power usage by all humans on the planet amounts to about 20 terawatts of energy. That is about 20 terajoules of energy every second. And if you're not unsure of what tera is, it's 10 to the 12th or 1 with 12 zeros after it. So 20 terawatts is 20 with 12 zeros after it in terms of our energy usage. This seems like a pretty big number, but what is their energy made out of? Our energy comes from a variety of different sources, including coal, gas, oil, hydro, and nuclear, as well as a variety of renewable energy sources such as wind, geothermal, biomass, and solar. Of course, today we'll be focusing on solar. Interestingly, most of the energy that we generate is actually wasted as heat, whereas only 49% of the energy that we generate is useful energy. So plants have actually been using sunlight to make energy and food for a very long time. Humans only realized how to use sunlight to make fires starting around 700 BC. And it wasn't until the 1950s that we invented the solar panel to convert sunlight directly into the electricity that we can use to power our homes. But there's always a question of whether or not there's enough solar energy to generate power for the Earth's entire use. Remember, I said that we use about 20 terawatts of energy on Earth, but luckily for us, the sun's energy supply is much, much larger than that, at 105,000 terawatts. So if we represent the Earth's energy use by this small orange square, the sun's energy use is this much, much larger orange square, confirming that, of course, there is enough solar energy for us to use. A few of the benefits of solar energy is that there's no pollution during generation, unlike fossil fuels, which release pollutants that are both bad for our health as well as for the health of our planet. Sunlight is also free and abundant, unlike the natural gas, coal, and other fossil fuel resources, though of course we have to pay for the solar panels for the generation of our energy. And it also enables future technologies, such as allowing planes to fly that don't have to refuel, and helping in space exploration, such as for the use of the ExoMars rover, which uses solar panels to power its exploration of Mars. There are still, of course, some obstacles. Otherwise, we would all have solar panels on our roofs. Currently, solar power is much more expensive than other sources, such as coal, which means that we have to do more research on solar cells to get the cost to go down. Solar intensity also varies from place to place. So here in sunny Santa Barbara, things are fairly good, and we have a lot of solar energy. But you can imagine that if you live somewhere like Canada in the winter, solar energy is much harder to come by. This also brings us to a third point, in that solar is not a continuous source. For example, at night, the sun doesn't shine, and so we need energy storage to offset the solar energy that we generate during the day so that we can use that energy at night. But today we'll be focusing on building our solar car. And so you should all have a kit in front of you that looks something like this. And I'll be taking you through the steps of how to build this car, which we can then race. So let's build one of these cars together. So the first step will be to open your kit. Take out all of the materials. Now here you'll want to be careful because there are a few small pieces that could get lost, including these little axles here. Once we have all of the pieces out, you'll see that there's this car kit manual or user guide that will provide some steps of how to go through the assembly. So we can ignore the step 1, which is deburring the axles by brushing the ends against sandpaper, unless you happen to have sandpaper in your home. Now, the second step is to find the 4 axle bushings. Those are these little white plastic pieces here. And we will also pick up the chassis plate and insert these bushings into the corrugated side. So from one end, you have to count 2 holes back and insert the bushing. And for these, you'll have to apply quite a bit of force to get these bushings to push into the axle holes. And then you'll want to put a bushing on the other side as well. The next step will be to add the axle bushings to the other side. We just added them to the front, but we now need to add them to the rear as well. Now here you'll have a choice of whether or not you want to put it in the 3rd or 4th from the back. And you'll insert those bushings as so. So the next step is a little bit tricky because we'll be accessing our gears from this gear kit right here. And now it's important to note that this gear kit is actually symmetric, except the gears on one side all have smaller holes, and the gears on the other side will have larger holes. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to look for the gears that have the larger holes on the inside compared to the ones with the smaller holes. And what you'll do is you'll get these larger hole gears, and you'll take the gear of interest and take it. Now there might be small pieces of plastic on the teeth of the gear. If you have something like a pair of scissors, for example, which you can sort of try to cut off those extra little burrs of plastic, that will make your car run more smoothly when we actually finally test it. Now what we have to do is push this gear onto one of our metal axles. If you're having trouble with this step, it might be useful to push it vertically down on a piece of paper or get a parent to help you push this gear through the hole. Once you've put that gear on your axle, you'll also have to take one of these smaller 2 gears and in for the gears that have the larger holes. And you can either take this 20-tooth but wider gear, or the one across from it that's a little bit skinnier. I would recommend taking the wider one because it allows you to easily line up the 2 gears on your solar car. Now again, you can see that this gear has a little bit of extra pieces of plastic. So we'll take the scissors and just snip any excess pieces of plastic off, as so. So with the gear we have on our axle, we're now going to attach that to our wheels. We'll be using the bigger wheels here, and we'll be pressing this axle into a hole in the wheel. We then need to put this wheel through the chassis or the body of our solar car. And we'll put this one on the back side, which is where we put those bushings, either 3 or 4 holes from the back. We'll slide it through, and if one of your bushings pops out, you'll just have to press it in the hole again. And you can then take your other wheel and just attach it to the other side of that axle. So it's important to note here that if you press both wheels in too tightly, then the body will not turn well in relation to the wheels. You actually want to make sure to have this be a little bit loose so that you can flip your body around if it's too tight, and you try to do that, both stay put. So make sure that your wheels are loose enough that you have some amount of movement of that chassis body. Now we'll be putting together the front wheels of our car. These are the narrow wheels here, and we'll be using our other axle here. What we'll have to do is push this wheel onto the axle, and then place this assembly into the body of the car through the second set of bushings that we have put together. Again, if that second bushing here is to pop out, press it back in. And once we have this axle through the chassis of the car, we'll attach the other wheel on this side. So now you should have a chassis with wheels attached that can roll back and forth as you push on it. So the next step is to attach the motor and attach the gear to the motor. This is what will actually be driving the car when we apply the solar panel and put your car into the sun. So we'll take that wider 20-tooth gear with the large hole in the center and push it onto the shaft of the motor. Sorry, in this case, we'll be taking the narrow holed gear instead of the wider hold gear. So if you did the mistake that I did, you'll notice that the wide hold gear, if you push it onto the motor, it falls right off again. So we actually need a gear with a narrow hole here. And again, if there's any sort of pieces of plastic, we can cut those off and press this onto the motor. Once we have the gear on our motor, we can snap the motor into the motor mount, which is this plastic piece right here. And we then need to figure out where this motor needs to sit on the chassis of the car so that the gear on the motor will mesh with the gear that's on the back wheel. So what we'll do is we'll place the motor down on the chassis and make sure that the two gears mesh, but that they don't interact so tightly that it's difficult for them to turn. Once we have that position, We can mark that position with a pen. And we can then take the plastic protective coating off of the sticky foam on the base of our motor mount and place the motor onto our chassis. We should then be able to turn the wheels and see that the gear on the motor turns as well. You might feel a little bit of resistance as you're turning the gears. And if you look at either of the two gears, if you see a little bit of a burr on the gear, take your scissors and try to cut off that little piece of burr. You should be able to smoothly turn your wheels and see the gear on the motor turn without much resistance. So the next step is to attach our solar panel. So we can take the solar panel out of our little plastic bag, and we'll see that there's a solar panel, and then it has two wires coming out of it. So these wires have to connect to the two terminals of our motor, which are the two little flanges that are coming off of the back of that motor. We then have to attach the panel itself onto the solar car in such a way that it doesn't interfere with the working of either the gears or of the wheels. For example, something that looks like this. In order to get our solar panel to stick, we can use some of these adhesive tabs that are provided in your kit. And you'll have to rip one off, peel off the paper backing, and carefully stick it to the panel itself. You'll then have to work a little bit to get the adhesive protector off of the backside. So either if you have some fingernails or if you have a sibling or a parent who can help you get this off, sometimes it's a little bit difficult. Now you can stick your solar panel back onto your motor mount, and the adhesive will let it stick down like this. So now we've made our basic solar car. If you want to decorate this car or add a body, you can. My kit that I have at home here does not come with the type of body that they show in any of the pictures, but you can take any sort of piece of paper and fashion a body. You really want to make sure, however, that you're not blocking any of the sunlight from the solar panel, otherwise you won't. So now let's go outside and see if this thing works. So once you're outside, the first step is to see whether or not you've hooked up your solar panel to your motor in the correct order. You'll notice that there's a red wire and a black wire, and that there's two different tabs on the motor, but it's difficult to tell which wire should go on which tab. The most easiest way for you to tell is for you to put your solar car into the sun and see which way your wheels turn. If your car seems to be going forward, then you've hooked it up correctly. And if it seems to be going backward, you just have to switch which wire is hooked up to which tab on your motor. So let's test this out now. Bring this down so you can see it. So right now I have my car hooked up and it's in the sun, so you can see that the wheels are turning, but if I set it down, you can see that it actually moves backwards. So that means that I have these cords hooked up in the wrong order. So let's take them off and switch the order. And now when I put it into the sun, the wheels are going in the correct direction and the car will move in the correct direction as well. So all that's left for you to do now is to build your own track and to time yourselves to see how much distance you can cover in a specific amount of time. Good luck and have fun.